Hey guys, coming back for the original Season 3, Episode 11, Wild at Heart, and I could not wait for this episode. Last week's mid-season premiere was amazing, and I couldn't wait to see how this episode was going to be, and this was another really great episode. Now, I'm not going to say it was the best episode of the season. In fact, I think this was probably my least favorite episode of the season, because it's the first episode where I'm not like, oh, that's the best episode of the season, but it still was a great episode. There was a lot happening in this episode, definitely, but it wasn't a huge episode, but there definitely were some huge revelations that are definitely going to affect the storm that's about to come, because we can definitely tell that we're building to something bigger, and I love that. But let's get into this episode. There's a lot to talk about, and I just want to get into it. So we start off with Aya addressing the Strix, and she says Tristan was a mentor and friend to them all. Now, I forgot to tell you guys, and I didn't realize this, maybe because I'm stupid, or I wasn't paying attention to it, or maybe it's or maybe it's just both. Tristan was actually, thrown into the bottom of the river, and he's now drowning, and we're probably never going to see him again. So, Tristan is done on the show, and how do I feel about that? I think it's fine. I mean, Lucien and Aurora are still out there. Where the hell they are, I don't know, but they're still out there. We know that they have some sort of plan, and basically she says that Tristan was a mentor and friend to them all. Marcel toasts with the others, and Aya says that they will stand united, and then someone comes into the room. She says she asked their witch, Arion, who is a new character, to conduct an assessment. We see her messing with the hearts, and Aya asks what she saw in their hearts, loyalty or something, and Arion says a card lies before each of them, a divination of their true selves, and several flip cards of loyal knights, and then one guy tells Aya he owes her no allegiance. She kills him instantly, which was crazy. I mean, you can tell that if you basically defy Aya, and I love that Aya has kind of become like the leader of the Strix, because Tristan was the leader, and it would make sense for Aya to become the leader, which kind of, I think, makes more sense, because Aya always seemed like she was a lot more stronger, and you can definitely tell the Strix is a lot more aggressive now. I mean, if you say I'm not loyal to you, she's just gonna kill you. She's not gonna hesitate, and that's crazy. And Aya says she won't tolerate anyone doing a power grab. She asks if Marcel will also betray her, and he says he's hurt. She has to ask, and of course we know he's not really working with them. He's just trying to get information, and he's kind of like a spy right now. He flips his card, and we see a knight on his as well. Aya says these times are uncertain. She says a threat to their sire is a threat to them all, wants them all to survive by whatever means necessary, and I thought that was a great way to start the episode. Just showing how powerful the Strix is great. So, after so many episodes of her being absent, we finally get to see Davina, and I get why we weren't seeing her. Remember, she was shunned by the witches, and they wanted to basically shun her from the show, which I think was a very good idea, but I think this was the perfect episode for Davina to come back in, because they really brought her back at the perfect time. A lot of things have, a lot of plots have ended and things like that, things have changed. It's the perfect time to get her back here, and I honestly felt really bad for Davina here, probably worse than I felt forever, because no one should have to go what Davina is going through. She's in the market looking for an ingredient, but the witch won't acknowledge her presence, literally just isn't listening to her, and she's trying to say, look, I know I was shunned, but can you please just try to look at me? And she walks up upset, and then Josh, who I don't think we've seen all season long, I don't remember the last time we saw Josh, he steps up to buy some, and the girl looks at him, and he says he will put her on Yelp, and Davina pulls him away, and I like that Josh really is helping out Davina. You can tell Davina is really hurt by what happened to her, and Josh really wants to help her. So Klaus finds more drained blood bags and asks Elijah where Cami is, because he knows that Cami obviously now has this bloodlust. And I want to talk about Cami, because I've heard a lot of people say, oh, Cami was out of character here. Cami felt like she had her humanity turned off. Cami has now become a vampire. This is something that's never happened to her before. And yes, in the past, other vampires, they haven't acted this way. When Caroline was a vampire, yes, when she turned humanity off, she acted much different than when she usually was. But think about when Cami was turned into this vampire. She died, and now she's a vampire, and she didn't want to become a vampire, and she's getting rid of all of her morals, and it's clear that Cami is much different than any other vampire we've seen. She has a much more increasing bloodlust. She wants blood. She will do whatever she can to get it, and I definitely mentioned seeing this side of Cami, because I really like where they're going with it. So basically, Elijah asks who handed her a daylight ring. He then reminds Klaus it was him, and Elijah says go find him while he deals with the extinction of their family. And Klaus says Tristan sleeps with the fishes, but Elijah says they have to find this thing capable of killing them. And as we know, there is a weapon. We don't know what it is. It's not the Saratura, because that's what was able to take down Tristan. So they have to find this weapon, because as we know, Tristan wanted to get that weapon, and since they know it's out there, that there is something capable of killing them all, they need to find it before Tristan does. So Hayley comes in, says Cami left around sunrise, and she asks Elijah if she and Hope can stay for a few days, and he says of course, and I really loved Hayley in this episode. You can tell that she really doesn't want to show that she's upset about Jackson. She really doesn't. She wants to move on, but definitely you can tell that she's feeling really upset about it. Elijah leaves to take a call. Klaus tells Hayley the one benefit to their family is that she always has a home there, and I really like seeing them be loyal to Hayley. It seems like they've been very split away from Hayley, but just seeing Klaus, Hayley, and Elijah on good terms, I really like seeing. Because it always seems like Klaus is pissed at Hayley, and for once, they're actually on good terms, and I like seeing that. The death of Jackson has kind of united these three, and I really like that. So Elijah's call is from Aya. She says she won't leave until the prophecy is averted, and says that they should pool their efforts to find the weapon that can kill originals, and he says he doesn't play well with others, and she says Lucien's witch, Alexis, left clues in the form of a puzzle, and says she can put it together. He's intrigued on what these clues could possibly be, because obviously, knowing that this weapon's out there, he wants to go find it. So Josh walks with Davina, complains about her not calling him back, and he says, you have friends, so you don't have to do the hard stuff alone. And a limo pulls up with Aya in it, and she tells him hi, then asks Davina to get in and talk, and I'm like, oh shit, this is not going to end well, because you know she's probably going to recruit Davina to the Strix, and she tells Josh later, leaves with Aya. Cami comes into a bar in the quarter. The bartender tells her she looks amazing, and Cami says she feels amazing, and Leah pipes, damn, I mean, she really is getting to channel a side of Cami we've never seen before. And again, I know people are saying this isn't Cami. Cami's done some dark things, if you remember. Cami has this dark side, and this is representing her dark side, definitely. You can tell that it's representing her. And a jerk says something snotty to the bartender, and then he says something snide to her too. She compels him to max out his ATM, leave it all for the bartender, then meet her in the alley. She says, turn your hat around, and I'm going to say this, while Cami's dark, she's doing a good thing. I mean, this guy was being a dick to this girl, and she was trying to help her out, so I don't think that Cami really was doing anything wrong. I think Cami just really wants to save people, and that's still in her, and you can definitely tell she's just a lot more aggressive and a lot more forward as a vampire, which is something that she really wasn't as a human, and, you know, she's a lot more capable of doing things that she's never really been able to do before. So I actually really like exploring Cami as a vampire. I think it's really interesting. So Klaus is there, sends her a drink. Aya tells Davina that any vampire who wants true power needs a witch. She introduces her to the sisters, who are all witches and were once all outcasts and orphans, and I do not think this is going to go well. It's clear that she wants Davina to think, oh, we're on your side, but this is Aya we're talking about, and Davina is very naive at points and can be very stupid, but Davina asks if the Strix has a personal coven. She says the local covens are like candles, and this coven is like a fire alarm. It's like a 5-alarm fire. She tells them that they are the only coven that can raise the dead. She says the sisters search the unknown and tell her things of use. And she says she knows Davina wants Cole back, and she says she will bring him back. And then Davina will become one of the sisters loyal to the Strix. And after she said that, I'm like, all right, Davina's joining the Strix, because what is the one thing Davina's wanted? To resurrect Cole. That's what she's wanted, and she'll do anything to do that, and Aya's saying I have a way to do that is definitely going to get Davina too. Now, I don't know if Aya's really serious, if there really is a way to resurrect Cole, or if she just really wants Davina to join the Strix. I feel like it's maybe both, but definitely you can tell that Aya really, I don't think, cares about Davina. I think she just wants her to join. So she asks Davina is willing to pay the price. She looks at Arion, and Cami thanks Klaus for the drink, and I love the scenes between Cami and Klaus in this episode, because things are a lot more complicated between these two now. This used to be Klaus always protecting Cami, and Cami always being the moral compass for Klaus, but now that Cami's a vampire, things are way different. She has a much bigger ulterior motive, and it's something that I don't know if Klaus is really willing to deal with, and I really like seeing that here. Because Klaus thanks Cami for the drinks. He says she would have torn the guy apart. She says we hunt, feed, and kill. He says to keep your voice down. She says she can just compel people to forget it. He says she's not equipped to live in this world. And Cami says maybe he's right. Then says her emotions are all over the place. And it's clear that she is still adjusting. She isn't used to this, and she says it's like someone turned up the volume in her life, and Klaus offers to help her. He says you should learn from the best, and he smiles. And it's clear that Klaus feels, he's happy that he did this, but he also is kind of regretful because it's turning her into something that she's not. So Davina tells Josh about a spell to stop her heart with poison. She says the witches won't look at her, and she needs to talk to Cole about the spell to find out if it really works. And Davina says she's just going to pop to the other side and back. That's what she thinks she can do. That she can talk to Cole, but we know that Davina's not coming back. Okay, if she goes to the Strix, she's not coming back. Now, I did hear, though, that eventually Davina and Klaus are going to make amends. At some point, that's going to happen, but something I like is that it is going to get worse before it gets better, and that's realistic. I mean, Davina's never going to trust Klaus, and I feel like there has to be something very drastic to happen for Davina to trust Klaus. And I know that, like I said, they are eventually going to get back to trusting each other, and she is going to be back on Klaus's side, but it's going to take a lot. And I don't really know what Klaus is going to have to do, but at some point, they're going to ally together. I don't know what he's going to do to get her to ally with him, but definitely that's going to happen. So, basically, she tells Josh she needs to channel his power. He says no, but she already took the poison. He says this is uncool and asks what he needs to do. She takes his hand and slices it. She puts her sliced hand onto his. She falls back and says don't let go no matter what happens, and says he's her link to the living. She's dead-ish. We see her rise on the other side. She looks around, sees Josh and herself lying there. She speaks his name, but he can't hear, and she leaves the room. So, Aya tells Elijah that they search for a seer for decades, and she calls Arion over. He asks if she's the secret weapon, and Aya says that she's untrained but has shown a rare spark of talent. And it's a good question. Why do they need Arion? Like, what does she have? It seems like this girl has kind of come out of nowhere. So Elijah asks what she wants, and Arion needs to see everything he learned in 1,000 years. Aya says that will allow her to answer the question that matters, and Arion gets into a pool of water. Hayley's back over at her place and is packing a few things. She looks at a shirt of Jackson's hanging there. She grabs some toys and leaves, and it's a really sad scene. You can tell that she actually, I think, really loved Jackson. She really cared about him. She wanted to be with, she really wanted to be with him, and I think a big part of that is, like I said, she wasn't necessarily in love with Jackson. She kind of just wanted this normal life, and I don't think it's so much that she wanted it for Hope. She doesn't want Hope to have to go through all this chaos. She wanted Hope to live a normal life, and now that dreams are squandered because Jackson's gone, and she can't really give Hope a normal life because besides that, her life is taking down the Strix and allying with vampires and drinking blood and things like that. Things that she really doesn't want Hope to have to do, but Hope is eventually going to have to do. And it's clear that Hayley, I think, is realizing this now. And it's really sad, honestly. I felt really bad for her. And I really think Phoebe Tonkin really sold it in this episode. She did a very good job here. Davina walks down the empty streets of the spirit world, leaves Blow. Cole grabs her, but it's not the face that she knows, and he hugs her. And it's the original Cole. It's not the Cole that, was resurrected by Esther when Esther returned and things like that. It is not that Cole. It is, in fact, the original Cole. And he says she's mad for coming there and says the answer's fine her. It's bad. The lights flicker and he leads her away. And I think this is just him saying, do you really want to make this choice? Because when he comes back, this is who he's going to be. So Elijah floats in the water, and Arion holds him floating, then bonds with him. He screams as she soaks him up, and Aya asks if she saw the weapon. Arion says an unending darkness lies before him, worse than he's ever endured. She says a lone figure, a pale horse, a flame that will burn you all, and Elijah is stunned. He can't believe how powerful Arion really is, because it seems like she knows, she's reading his mind, basically. She knows exactly what's going on with him. I mean, Elijah's always had this dark side of him, and he can't believe how dangerous Arion really is. So Cami pulls off a guy off a girl that he was kissing and compels him to stand there, and Klaus watches and says, not bad. And again, like I said, it's clear that she's trying to save people, which I kind of like seeing. Cami's kind of like a superhero in many ways. And she starts fending on the girl, and remember, she's doing this because her father always wanted to save people, and she's kind of carrying on that legacy. It's clear that she still wants to do that. She starts feeding on the girl. He says, listen to the heartbeat, says it tells you when to stop. He tells her to stop, and Cami says, how can him of all people preach restraint? Klaus compels the couple to leave and forget them. Cami says he has no room to talk when he's killed thousands, and he really has nothing to say to her. I agree with Cami. He can't really say anything to her. He's killed all these people, and Cami's doing exactly what he's doing, and he can't say anything to her because Klaus has killed way too many people for him to be upset about this. And he says it's more like hundreds of thousands, and he says he has no chance of absolution and doesn't want that for her. She says she's like him now, but he says this is not her. He does not want her to be this bloodlust. He doesn't want that for her. And she's still learning. And Cami says he's right. He embraces her. She cracks his neck, says it's her only better, and walks away. And I like seeing Klaus wanting to help Cami, but it's clear that Cami doesn't want that help. She feels that she can get by this way, but I really feel this is going to backfire for Cami. I don't know how. It hasn't backfired yet, but it's definitely going to. So Cami runs into a guy at a food cart, and it's Kinney. It's Detective Kinney. He's back. Why he's still here, I don't know. I don't know why he's still in New Orleans. I thought we were done with him, but he's still there. He says he's doing well and back on the job. She says she needs a favor, pulls him aside. Cole and Davina take shelter in a pub, and he says they'll be okay there. He kisses her. She looks at him, and he says she liked the other him more, and it's clear that she's not in love with the actual Cole. She's in love with when he was Kaleb, when he was in the body of Kaleb, and Davina says that he's just so different, and she's still adjusting in there in freaky ghost land. He says, close your eyes. She does. He says, think back to the last night that they were together in the last dance. She does. Then he dances with her slowly. She smiles and says she missed him, and this face is fine. She looks at it, then asks what's happening to him. He says there's nothing, then says this place is dark and she should not have come. So, obviously, Davina really doesn't know what's going on. She's not in love with this side of Cole, and it's just very weird for her. And she says she may have a way to bring him back and shows him the spell. He looks at it, she smiles, and obviously, she is intrigued. So Kinney finds stuff under the floorboards of Lucien's place. He asks why he's doing what she says, and she says she can't go in herself, and she says she won't be a victim anymore. Klaus is there. He says she's a fast learner. He tells her not to push her and gets between her and Kinney, and Cole tells Davina the spell is a fake. And if you guys remember, there was that great scene in the mid-season finale of Klaus saving Kinney and telling him to, get out of here. This is not your life. You can live and things like that. Live a great life. And it's clear that Kinney, I feel like, has listened to that, but at the same time kind of feels like there's nothing bad that's going to happen to him. And it's very interesting that he kind of wants to stay on this job when Klaus specifically told him that you shouldn't do that, but he's not going to listen to him, and he clearly doesn't trust Klaus. So Cole tells Davina that the spell is a fake, but she says he's lying. He says the spell is dangerous, and he says he's not seen anything like it since the Strix Coven, and she doesn't believe him. He asks if it's their work. He says they don't do anything foolish. She says she can bring him back, but he says nothing is worth what they'll make him do. He says the ancestors are close. They hear a buzzing sound. The lights flash, and there are shadows. He pulls her away. They hide behind the bar. Then the door opens, and whispers are all around. They finally withdraw. The door closes again. Cole sighs, and obviously he was right. This is very dangerous what Davina's doing. She clearly doesn't trust him, and she thinks she knows what she's doing, which is something that Davina's always done. Davina's very stubborn. That's just her character, and I know at times she can be very annoying, but she's a teenager, we have to remember. Teenagers are very stubborn. I mean, I would know. I'm a teenager. So they finally withdraw, the door closed again, Cole sighs, and Cami tells Klaus that the dark objects belong to her, but he says that Cole made them, and that means they belong to his family, and Cami says to give them back, or she will take them back, and he will regret this, and she says Aurora was right, and did this to turn them away from each other, and Cami says he hates that she's out of his control, and she says that the world trembles at his name, but he's the scared one, and that's true. That's really what it's about. He can't control her anymore. He can't tell her what to do. She's now a vampire. He has no control over her because she now is just as powerful as him, and he obviously is afraid of that. He was in love with the human side of Cami. He's not in love with this side of Cami. And she calls him a scared little kid, afraid he'll be tossed aside once he's not needed, and basically I thought that was very interesting what she said, and I really do feel that's true, that he really wants the, old Cami back, but that old Cami is gone. There's nothing he can do about that, and she, changed once he turned her into a vampire, and Klaus, knowing the effects of what would happen to her, let her be a vampire because he just couldn't see Cami die, and now, like I said, there would be consequences, and now those consequences are coming to haunt him. So, basically, we then see Hayley says that he can't hold her hostage and says she'll talk to her. She says Cami died because of their world, just like her and Jackson, and I like that she said that. Very much it's because of what they have to do. I mean, Jackson died because of their world, and Elijah's there, calls him away from the woman to talk, and Cole takes Davina out, says to get back to where you crossed over, but it's too late. One of the ancestors there calls out her name, and she ends up going with the Strix. So Elijah tells him what the seers said. Klaus says it would be nice if witches just said what they mean. He tells Klaus to leave Cami be for now. Elijah says she's been a pawn to him, so distance would be a mercy, and he needs him to fight the coming storm. Hayley tells Cami that things will get better, and Cami says that's sweet, and I like this friendship between Cami and Hayley. I really do like it. Like I said last week, we saw that scene where we saw Freya tell Cami that she doesn't really care what happens to her, but Hayley was going through so much, she really didn't get a chance to talk to Cami, so I like seeing this. Where the fuck is Freya, by the way? Freya was not in this episode. I don't know where she was, but she was not here. So Cami says that's sweet, then says take your own advice, then calls herself the Michelson family therapist, and I thought that was kind of funny what she said there, and she says Hayley's in love with Elijah, and now that Jackson is gone, she's free, and Hayley is, I thought that was very interesting, and she said that you're in love with Elijah, and that she was just covering that up with Jackson, and I've said it before, I don't really feel Hayley was in love with Jackson. I think she was just in love with the idea of Jackson, that she could get away from this life, that there could be something outside of all the combat and things like that. But she can't get away from the Michelsons because that's a part of her life too. And she tells Hayley a weight must be lifted. Hayley says she knows this is a hard time for her, then says don't ever speak her husband's name again. She gets close, stares Cami down. Cami says she doesn't know what's wrong and asks why she would do that. Hayley tells her that she's manic. Cami says she had an evil lie to make her feel pain. Cami says she thought she could handle this, and Hayley says she will in time. Cami says she needs to go home. Hayley sighs, and Cami walks away, and very interesting stuff there. Just very intense stuff between Cami and Hayley. So basically, we then see the ancestor throw his coal back. Davina screams his name. Josh sees her struggling. Ariane is there, fights off the ancestor, tells Davina she can help her cross back, but she must come now. And Hayley tells Klaus to leave Cami alone and says the Cami he knows is gone, and there's nothing he can do about that. And she has to figure out herself who she will be now, because it's clear that Cami doesn't really know who she wants to be. I mean, sure, she has an idea, but she's not really herself right now, and she needs to understand that, but she isn't right now. So Klaus says he wanted to keep her safe. Hayley says he does people, he wants to keep safe, more harm than good, and that really is true. I mean, think of everything Klaus has done, interfering with people's lives, things like that. I mean, when he wanted to keep Hayley safe, he turned her into a werewolf for good, and obviously that wasn't something that she wanted. That made more harm than good, and definitely made those two against each other, and I like that Hayley's telling him, you don't need to get involved here. You can't really do anything about this. Even though you want to do something, you can't do anything, because she's not, you can't control her, and this is simply something that's completely out of your control. So I thought that was a very good scene. Klaus says keeping Rebecca safe, and says he knows where the weapon is, and says he made it himself. He rushes off, and that was very interesting. We found out that he made this weapon himself. Well, what is it? We need to know. So Ariane takes him back to the church. Cole says he'll fight them off, but Davina says she wants to come. Ariane says that he can't come with them now. Cole tells her to go, kisses her. The door opens. He faces the ancestors, and Davina says her link to Josh is broken. When she sees their hands aren't linked, Ariane tells her to focus and think about what she loves. And Klaus babbles, says the pale horse is a trinket he made when they were children. He says he gave it to Rebecca long ago. Elijah realized that the horse was made of white oak, and Klaus says that the weapon is here. And obviously, white oak steak, that's what kills them. So this is definitely more powerful. Like I said before, this is much powerful, though, than the white oak steak. This is not the white oak steak. This is something that's much more powerful and will do a lot more damage to them. So Davina wakes, checks on Josh. She asks why Ariane helped her. She says Aya wanted her safe. Davina asks Ariane if she made the same deal to get her heart's desire. She says yes, tells her it was worth it, and Hayley tells him that she saw it earlier. Cami took it, and Klaus says there's only one person whom he shared those memories with, his trusted therapist. She has the horse in her hand as she walks through the quarter, and it makes sense. It really does. I mean, Cami took it clearly because she doesn't want to listen to Klaus right now. She's now taken this weapon from them. What she's going to do with it, I don't know, but it's clear that Cami has her own plan. It does not involve Klaus. She has her own thing that she wants to do, and that definitely is very interesting. So we'll have to see if they get it back from Cami. I'm sure they will, but definitely very interesting stuff there. I mean, this is definitely a side of Cami we haven't seen before. So Davina has a drink, tells Josh she knows she didn't give him any choice, thanks him for being there for her, and he says when Aiden died, he sat in Jackson Square, daring himself to take off his daylight ring. He says he was ready to give up. He says if there were any way to bring Aiden back, he would do it no matter what. He says if there's a chance for her to be with Cole, she should do it, and I like that scene. You know, you can see that Josh is really trying to be supportive with her, telling her, look, if this is what you want, you need to do it. And Klaus gets a call from Cami who says he may be mad right now. She says she wants her dark objects back, then says she'll be in touch. She ends the call, and basically I think she's taken this weapon basically to get her stuff back. You know, I'm going to take this weapon unless you give me back my dark objects. So Cami gets into a car, drives away, and Ariane sits by the pool of water, says you found it. When Elijah comes in, she says she knows that he came to kill her. She says she knows he can't live with what she's seen. And, you know, she's just too powerful. I mean, she's seen everything. She's read his mind. It's terrifying. She says the things he keeps hidden. She stands. He touches her hair. She says she is released. He pulls back her hair, grabs her throat. He fangs up and bites, and he can't let her live. He lets her face fall into the pool after he bleeds her. And yeah, kind of a waste of a character, but I felt like they did what they needed to with her. You know, she was a very powerful member of the Strix that they simply couldn't use. She was just too powerful, and she would have damaged everything. She would have ruined everything, and they can't use her. So Josh comes to see Marcel, says he's been doing a lot of thinking about friends and what's important. Josh tells him that Davina just became one of the Strix witches, and obviously Marcel's very upset about this because of the fact that he's not actually working for the Strix, and we have to remember that he's not really working with the Strix right now. He is simply just getting information out of them, and he's really just a mole. That's really what he is right now, and Davina's not. Davina is actually working there, so how does Marcel really feel about this? I don't really know. I mean, her joining the Strix, that's going to be very interesting. So Hayley packs more stuff and finds another one of Jackson's shirts, and this scene was just so great. Such a great way to end the episode. She holds it close, cries into it, she kneels down and sobs, she covers her eyes, cries it out, and she finally gets that chance to just let it all out. I mean, like I said, the whole episode it seemed like she was hiding her true feelings, and I think like finally she got to let it out. Elijah comes into her apartment, he says he doesn't know what to say. Hayley says she spent the last 24 hours being so angry at Tristan, the Michaelsons, even Elijah, and she says even Jackson for always being brave. She says she's not mad now, says she's just guilty, and he steps closer, sits down by her. She says she wanted to blame him, blame anyone, but she says the truth is that her husband died because he loved her. That's what it was, that he loved her, that's why he died. And she says loving any of them is a death sentence. Elijah looks down in thought as she shares this thought, and I'm pretty sure it's just her saying that we can never be together. I can never be with anyone. You love anyone, they're probably gonna die, and it's really sad, but it honestly is kind of true what she's saying. I understand Hayley's points when she's saying, you know what, we have a very good chance of dying, but that's how the episode ends. And overall, guys, a really great episode. I really enjoy this episode, but let's talk about Cami, because Cami there's this side of her that we've never seen before, obviously. Klaus can't control her, and I'm pretty sure that she has a plan that we just don't really know what it is yet, and we're gonna find out what that plan is, obviously, because it has, and I'm sure it has nothing to do with Klaus. This is not something that Klaus wants her to do or wants anything to do with, which I think is very interesting. I can't wait to see where that goes with Cami, because, like I said, it's a side where we've never been able to see before, and I love that. I think Leah Pipe's doing an awesome job with that. Hayley and Elijah, it's really sad, because I really do feel Elijah does love her. I mean, when he put his head down like that, I think that's him saying, you know what, I really do love her, but I can never be with her. It's really sad, and I'm definitely interested in seeing where that's going to go. Davina joining the Strix. This is huge. I mean, we've had episodes with Davina gone, and now that she's back, she's joined the Strix. I mean, this really changes everything. How does Marcel really feel about this? Because like I said, he's not really working for the Strix. He is just simply a rat right now, and he's probably going to tell Klaus and Elijah. They're probably going to try to convince her that they can't trust Aya, and definitely, that's going to be very interesting to see what ends up happening with that. Where are Aurora and Lucien? I have no idea where they are. We saw Aurora very briefly in the last episode, and then Lucien we haven't seen since, like, the mid-season finale. And definitely, they're planning something. We just don't know what it is. And that's I kind of like that. I like that mystery of not really knowing where Aurora and Lucien are. It keeps that open. It keeps me intrigued and makes me think, I wonder what they're planning. Very interesting, what's going on there. I definitely do like this. But the weapon that Cami has right now, I mean, does Cami really understand what this weapon is going to do? Because this is a weapon, if it can kill Klaus, it can kill her. And I really hope that Cami doesn't end up doing something stupid. But again, she is now vampire. She doesn't really know what she's doing. She doesn't really know what she wants. I kind of think she does. I think she just wants to save people, because if you really think about it, all of those people were good intentions. I mean, the bartender she tried to save because the guy was being a dick. She pulled that guy off of the girl, yes, to get blood, but also I think to help out the girl because she didn't want the guy, because she thought the girl was being abused or something. I do think Cami has good intentions, but I just think that her emotions are very mixed right now because she's a new vampire. Davina resurrecting Cole, is this the best thing for her? I kind of think she's kind of contemplating, is this really something I should do? Because she doesn't know, is Cole going to come back as Kaleb, or is he going to come back as the person she doesn't really love? Because we know the real side of Cole, she's not really in love with. We saw that they don't really have a connection. She doesn't really love him, and I find that to be very interesting. It definitely makes sense, though, because those are two different people. I mean, one Cole is different from the other. And yes, they're both Cole, but one is significantly younger than the other. Then they both look very different, and it's clear that Davina sees them in much different ways, and I definitely really do like seeing that. But overall, guys, great episode as usual. Love this episode. Can't wait for next week's episode. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. I will see you guys in my next video. I am now officially caught up on TV shows, which is awesome. I'm very happy about that. And yes, guys, I will be reviewing Shameless tonight. Yes, I will be watching the Super Bowl. No, I am not doing a live stream. It's a fucking football game. I'm not doing a live stream for it. If you guys wanted me to, sorry, I'm not. I will probably be live tweeting, though, throughout the night, but that does not mean I am not reviewing Shameless. My next review will be for Shameless, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.